There are lost cities hidden by elves. There's a girl who can read people's minds. There are fires, adoptions, and a terrible kidnapping. All coming up on this episode of Bookwards. Hi, I'm Sam, an 11-year-old who reads a lot.
And I'm Dana, his mom, who also reads a lot.
Welcome to Bookwards, where we read and discuss the best kids' books. We encourage our listeners to read the book before listening, especially because there are always spoilers in our episodes. To make sure you never miss new episodes and find out what we're reading next, follow us on Instagram and X at BookwardsPod.
So like always, we will start off with a very quick plot summary of the book. So in this book, a girl named Sophie Foster, who's 12, discovers that she's not actually human, but she's an elf, and she has telepathy, which means she can hear other people's thoughts. She's taken by this boy Fitz into the Elven lands, which are called the Lost Cities, where she is encouraged to stay. So she actually leaves behind her human family. Their minds are wiped of all memories of her. And instead, she gets accepted to the most elite elf school called Foxfire. There, she makes a bunch of friends, and it turns out she has all of these special abilities, not just telepathy, which itself is a really special ability. She has other abilities which make her super powerful. And then, towards the end, she's investigating why there's these mysterious, very dangerous fires that are burning near the human lands. And she is kidnapped by unknown villains. She uses a bunch of her special powers to get away, and also her human neighbor comes and saves her, which is cool. And we end with a lot of questions. And we head into book 2 to try to answer some of those questions.
So right away we see she gets introduced to Alvin.
Right, Alvin and Della, which are Fitz's parents.
We meet Grady and Adeline.
Adeline, yeah.
Adeline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She gets accepted to the school, Foxfire.
Yeah.
And right away, lots of action. She meets Dex at the store. We see with Dex and Stina, the bully.
Right, so right away, even before she goes to school, she meets Dex, who becomes her best friend.
She already meets the bully.
And
she already sees the bully.
Oh, by the way, you always get mad at me when I bring up how books are similar to Harry Potter, but I'm going to do it again. So in Harry 1, even before he gets to Hogwarts, who does he meet in the store? Malfoy. Meet the bully in the store. Anyway, yeah, in this case, the bully at school is a girl named Stina. But let's talk about Sophie, our main character.
Yeah, so Sophie, she was definitely very interesting and very fun to read. I thought the beginning of the book, unlike the book's fast pace, Sophie started off, I think, a little bland. And throughout the book, we get really to see more of Sophie.
I like Sophie a lot as a character, as a main character. First of all, she's the first female main character that we've read for this podcast, which...
That is true.
Yeah, which is nice. She is very relatable, I think. We go through a lot of stuff with her. She has to leave her human family behind, enter the elven world. In the snap of a finger, she learns that she's not human, that she's not really part of her family, that she's instead an elf, that elves exist. She is one of them. And her family's not her family. She's actually an elf. And she's, of course, the most powerful elf. And there's this really amazing scene early on in the book where she's told she can go back to her house one more time to get her some stuff and say goodbye to her family before their minds are wiped. And that's where I really felt a connection to Sophie.
Right.
Really related to her.
Remember last book we saw Aunt Leonore died, and we said how
last book is Impossible Creatures.
And we said it wasn't really sad when Aunt Leonore died, but in this book, when Sophie had to say goodbye to her human family, it's very sad and very moving. And that was one of the things that the author did very well.
Yeah, it was done really well, but it also made us, I think, have a strong emotional connection to Sophie from the beginning.
And that was where her personality really started to take off.
Yeah,
we really started to see more of Sophie.
Yeah, she's both very powerful, like incredibly smart and very, very powerful, has all these special abilities, but also is very vulnerable. Like, she hugs her stuffed animal a lot. She's really sad about her family. She misses them a lot. She's kind of homesick, even though she's thriving. She thrives in the elven world.
Right, she quickly makes friends. She makes friends with Fitz, with Keith, with Dex.
Who are some of the cool kids in school, by the way.
So she doesn't care if they're the cool kids, though. Dex is not cool.
Right.
School.
Gen
Fitz
C.
and Keith are the two coolest kids. Gen C's not cool at all. Gen C and Dex, but she sticks with Gen C and Dex, even though she is friends still with some of the cool
Right,
kids.
I guess the point is she enters Foxfire, which is the elite school. She gets in.
She instantly makes friends.
She instantly makes friends with everyone. She's really nice to kids who aren't that cool or popular, but are nice to her from the beginning. And then she integrates them with the cool, popular kids, like Fitz, who she has this unique bond with because he's the person who found her in the human world. Then she goes to live with this couple, Grady and Edeline, whose daughter had died. And I thought that was also done, like, really, really well.
That was.
Yeah. Both
Especially
her
when
connection
we saw
to
at
them.
the ending, I saw it, like, when they had the adoption, like, is she going to pick Alvin and Della? Is she going to pick Grady and Edeline?
Yeah. Well, I actually thought the part where she finds out, she's not supposed to, but she finds out that they canceled her adoption. Like, I thought that was so moving. I was like humiliated for her. I was so angry. I was like,
How dare you?
I was
You're probably the
so
villain.
angry.
Like, you're the villain.
No, the emotions, I was about to say the human emotions, the elven emotions in this book were really, really strong. Sophie, you rarely get that where you relate so much to the main character and to the family drama that they're going through. But, like, I was so devastated when she said goodbye to her human family. And then I was even more devastated when she finds out, and she's not supposed to, that they canceled her adoption. Because in the end, they know they made a mistake. They really love her and do want her. They just are going through their own trauma from their daughter dying.
I know.
This was a great way for them to move on, but they're still really sad
They didn't
about it.
accept it at first, but then they accepted it.
Yeah. Okay, so we love Sophie. We relate to her a lot. Some of the other characters in school are great. She has a whole group of friends.
I love Keith.
Yeah, Keith
Funny.
is funny.
He's like a troublemaker. Sophie's like kind of a troublemaker. She like doesn't really fit in, so she's like technically a troublemaker because she doesn't try to make trouble, but she does it anyway.
Well, she's like learning all the ropes and
Right,
rules.
like chaos follows her.
Yeah. Fitz is good. Biana, I'm not so into. Biana is Fitz's sister, and she was mean to Sophie, like actually hostile to Sophie, and then out of nowhere started being nice to Sophie.
I thought Biana had a chance to like. I don't think Stina was a needed character in this book.
Stina the villain, the bully.
Right. I think Biana could have just been, like, the Shannon Messenger could have just made Biana the bully. Like, in this entire series.
Maybe. Stina is in so many books. You have
and
school, and you have the token bully.
Right. Stina's a pretty lame bully, though. Like, what is she? She doesn't even hurt Sophie ever.
I know. She's not a great bully.
Right. She's like a little bit of a boring bully.
Who says lame things.
And Biana, she was actually a bully. She was actually, like, not bad. It was a like, intriguing character. Intriguing bully.
Right.
And then she becomes nice.
Yeah. Right, so Stina is like the token bully at school, but she's not that good at being a bully. You're not scared of her. She doesn't say anything super bad, whatever.
Right. But more about, like, what did you especially like about the side characters? Who's your favorite one, and what did you especially...
I really like, what's his name? Elwyn, the doctor.
He's funny, you know?
Yeah, he's kind, he's wise, he cares a lot about all the kids. He's the doctor at school, and Sophie needs him a lot because she keeps getting... First of all, she's new to Elvenland. She has all these powers that she's harnessing. So she gets hurt a lot. Long and short of it is, she gets hurt a lot. And I like him a lot. Who do you like?
I like I feel like Fitz would be a boring answer, but I already said I like Keith. Keith is just funny. He's really good to read about. Like, he could easily be a main character in a book.
Well, maybe he is. There's lots more books in this series.
Right, he could easily be a main character. He's funny. He's, like, amazing.
Yeah.
He's also, like, a troublemaker. He's, like, I think a better version of Fitz, in my opinion.
Right, he's more interesting.
Right.
Dex, I find a tiny bit annoying. He's very insecure. He's always comparing himself to Fitz and doesn't like that Sophie's good friends with Fitz. Yeah, so he's...
Like, he just doesn't seem like the kid that would really fit in. Like, you could tell by reading him. He didn't seem like... But then Sophie, like, becomes good friends with him, and he starts to warm up to, like, Fitz a little.
To others.
He's friends with Keith a little. Like, he starts to warm up a bit.
Right. Okay. I thought most of the teacher characters were forgettable, so I'm not even going to mention any of them.
Unless, other than her
telepathy
teacher.
Tiergan?
Yes, Sir Tiergan.
Oh, yeah, I like him. He's got some edge,
some
personality.
Funny.
Yeah.
He's a good
guy. I mean, he's irreverent. Like, I thought some of the other adults, like Alden and Grady, were just very nice and rule-following and didn't have any edge to them, but Tiergan has some edge.
But that's not always true because, number one, Grady's been, like, he hasn't been outside for the last 20 years, basically.
Grady? He works outside with all the creatures.
No, but
outside of the house?
Right, he hasn't really been outside the house 20 years until he got Sophie. And Alden has been breaking rules from the council the entire time. He has been searching these fires.
Oh, investigating the fires,
right.
Searching for Sophie. That's
right.
true.
So he's been, like, not listening to the council. So they're both, like, not completely rule followers.
Yeah.
What did you think of Bronte?
So I like Bronte, who's the council member, purely because there's so many characters in this book, and most of them are nice. Like, everyone's just nice and kind and helpful. And I was waiting for people to be not that. So at least Bronte, who at the end of the book we find out is going to be Sophie's new mentor, which is her new teacher, her one-on-one teacher, for her new talent of inflicting.
Which is cool.
Which is cool. She gets to inflict pain on people.
Right. She's
one of her talents.
One of the only people that could do it, except for Bronte.
Bronte. So he's going to be her new teacher. But anyway, I like that he was not that mold of, like, the adult who's just, like, nice and kind and helpful. He actually seems like he doesn't like Sophie at all. Not personally. He doesn't know her that well. But he doesn't like this idea of an elven girl who was missing for 12 years, raised by humans, comes back, has all these powers. He's very skeptical and suspicious.
What about, how do you like that elves, like, live forever? Like, that was a cool element. There are a lot of cool elements in this book.
That's true.
There were some really cool elements. What did you think were some cool elements in this book?
Well, I thought it just happened to be interesting to me that the main issue that, like, the main challenge or problem in the book are these massive fires that are burning California, because that happens to be happening in the real world right now. And the elves actually make a lot of comments about how, like, the humans have taken the world and, like, ruined it with their pollution and their unhealthy food. And yeah, it's definitely, Shannon Messenger was definitely making a comment
I definitely like how every elf has, like, his or her, like, a special ability. And there's so many different abilities, so many different cool talents elves have. Which ones were, like, your favorite?
Well, some of them, the fact that some of them don't have it is cool. So they're all the young kids at Foxfire.
It's also a little scary. Like, imagine
if you don't have one.
If you don't have one, you're, like, you know.
Right, so they're all terrified.
And outcasts.
Some of them were very cool, some of the talents. So Sophie has telepathy, and she has inflicting, which means she can inflict pain on people. And part of telepathy is not only hearing people's thoughts, but also she's able to transmit messages through her mind to Fitz, who's also a telepath. Grady is a mesmer, right?
That's so cool, yeah.
He can, like, put people in a trance.
I'm going to actually say something else for my favorite. I think my favorite was, like, either an empath, which I thought, like, a lot of people thought that was, like, a little lame. But I thought, like, if you're, like, a living lie detector.
Oh, that's Keith?
Keith is
not just a lie detector. You can detect all kinds of emotions. Like, if a person is...
Right. That helps a lot with the
anxious or, That is a good one.
As we keep mentioning, everyone is so happy and nice in the book. That was one of the things I didn't like as much, no? Like, everyone is so well-intentioned. No one has any edge. And the really annoying thing is we don't know who the villain is. And we don't have any suspects. Like, who's your suspect for who's the villain? We don't know.
Okay, so Sophie gets kidnapped at the end.
Right. So, but we don't have any suspects for who the villain that kidnapped, which we don't know. We don't know who this villain is because everyone's so, like, nice. There's no one that...
Well, we might not know the villain yet, except that Sophie says to... It's 3 people kidnap her. And Sophie says to one of them, I know you. But yeah, I thought everybody in this book was a little too, like, wholesome and nice and kind. And there weren't that many people with, like, other kinds of personalities.
Another thing I didn't like is there were so many characters. Yeah. So many unnecessary ones. Like, we had to get introduced to every single person at school. Like, literally.
I know, but maybe they're necessary to sustain, like, an 11-book series with each book being 600 pages.
There's still too much. I can't remember all 30 characters that you're going to put in. Even in a long series. Like, if there's a long series with 500 characters, I can't remember all 500 of them.
I know. Well, yeah, no, not true. In Harry, I bet we could name, like, 75 Harry characters.
Yeah, but you can't name them all. Name everyone from
school. No, not everyone, but...
Remember, same thing with Harry. Like, remember Harry, there were these random people from school in Harry Potter that I just, like, I didn't need to know. Why do I need to know?
No, I like it. It doesn't bother me to have that many characters.
So many names.
It did get a little confusing at times, but...
And then, if we see this character in later books, like if we see this character in book 3, this random character that showed up once in book 1, if we see him or her in book 3, we have to, like, remember, oh, yeah, he was in book 1 for 1 second, and he or she did this for 1 second.
It's very, like, it doesn't bother me.
And now it's time to book in a rating. We each rate the book on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we combine both of our ratings for the book's final score.
What's our rating for Keeper of the Lost Cities Book 1?
So I'm going to give this a 9.0.
9.0. That's solid. And higher that I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it an 8.8. I've read this entire series. If you gave me book 4 or book 5 of this series, this would be this would be my number 1 book out of all the books we've read. But book 1, I think, is not as good as some of the other books, like Spy School and Holes.
Okay.
I think are both better than book 1.
All right. But
continue reading the series. If you continue reading the series, I promise, like book 4, book 5, book 6.
Of Keeper?
All the later books, book 3, book 2 also. Like,
out of this world?
Top book.
Okay, well, with a 17.8, it puts this, book 1 of Keeper, into 3rd place out of the Bookwards.
Which is good.
Ratings, yes.
It's not easy to be top 3 anymore with 7 books, you know?
Nope.
And now, it's time for the Bookwards Book Awards, where we keep a running tally of the books with the best main characters, coolest supporting characters, most awesome settings, craziest plot twists, and of course, most villainous villains.
All right, so best main character, we've got Sophie Foster.
And she, I think, is going to go in number 3. I think 3 is a good spot for her. I think she's better than Stanley Yelnats, but not as good as Ben Ripley, so we're going to put her right in between Stanley and Ben Ripley. But top 3, again, top 3 is really good.
Right, so to remind everyone, as of now, in first place is Percy Jackson, in second place is Ben Ripley from Spy School, and we just put Sophie into the 3rd place spot of main characters that we've read. Best supporting character. We're going to go with Fitz from Keeper, even though there were a ton of supporting characters.
Right.
Fitz is the one who shows up
in the beginning.
Shows up first.
Right. So where would you put him?
Also in third, Erica Hale continues to be my favorite from Spy School. Annabeth from Percy Jackson is also one of my favorites. I love her. But Fitz from Keeper is a solid third place supporting character.
Also, I think he joins characters like Annabeth and Erica Hale as side characters that were pretty out of this world.
Okay, best setting. Right now in first place is the Archipelago from Impossible Creatures.
In second place we have Camp Green Lake right now. Third place New York City.
From Percy Jackson.
And so on.
Here the setting is the Lost Cities. And I will say that we mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, because the book is so long, you do get a lot of world building. So we get to know the Lost Cities. They go to Atlantis. They go to Eternalia.
A lot more on a 700-page book than a 300-page book. Like, we just get to see a lot more of the Lost Cities, and that's what I think it's going to go in number 2.
Second place.
I think it's better than Camp Green Lake, in my opinion. It still doesn't beat out the
Archipelago. It's a whole world.
Right, the Archipelago still is going to beat it.
Yeah.
I think when we have whole worlds, I think they're just going to have to come before, like, cities. Like Camp Green Lake in New York City. Like, I think they're just going to have to come before. Anyway, on to best plot twist. The best plot twist that we're going to do is Sophie is Project Moonlark.
Right, so in this book, we learn a lot about this Project Moonlark that's very mysterious, and then it turns out that is Sophie's birth. And hiding her among the humans.
Don't confuse this with the plot twist that Sophie is an elf. There's a difference. This is Sophie is strictly Project Moonlark. So that's gonna
right. Sophie as an elf was very surprising, but it's not really a plot twist because it happens at the very beginning.
Sophie is Project Moonlark. I think it's gonna go in 4th place because I think it's a middle of the pack plot twist.
All right, let's talk about best villain. So, in this book, we do not know who the villain is. Sophie does get kidnapped by 3 bad people, but we don't know who they are, we don't know their names, we don't know anything about them.
But they're still better than the villains from Impossible Creatures or Percy Jackson. We're not going to spoil them. If you haven't read the book, go read it, then listen to our episodes.
Correct.
But they're still better than those villains because the unknown villains, they still have good potential in books to come when we probably will learn who they are.
They are very compelling.
On our next episode, we will be reading Middle School, The Worst Years of My Life by James Patterson. We hope you read with us, and we remind you to follow us on X and Instagram at Bookwards Pod. And we'll see you next time on Bookwards.